You're listening to the Evolving Truths podcast, featuring mother-daughter hosts Shannon and Alexus Rae, where honest and vulnerable conversations about personal growth create a connection between all of us. You're invited to experience the transformation that occurs when we allow the truth of who we are to evolve.
Hello, you beautiful heart and soul. We are so excited that you are here with us today on the Evolving Truths podcast. My name is Shannon Day, and with me, as always, is my beautiful daughter, Alexus Rae. How are you, Alexus?
Hi, Mama. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you like how I swooped in there and took over your intro role?
Absolutely. I thought that was great. I actually have been thinking about it. Like, we might be, as we're wrapping up season 5, I'm like, oh, what can we mix up? Like, what's going to be different about season 6? Like, are we going to try a new intro? Are we going to try something different? I've been ideating on all of that stuff recently.
Okay.
So I'm down for the switch up, is really what I'm trying to say. I absolutely loved you jumping in there. How are you
Um,
doing this morning?
Before we go to how I'm doing, let's also talk about switch up. Girl, that hair. Cute.
Thank you. I know. I can't say I know. Let me just say thank you.
You're
Definitely a
welcome.
little different. And I totally took a complete rest day yesterday. I
Mm,
stayed in my pajamas all day.
mm.
I watched YouTube videos. I really have been trying to be thinking more like, what is this next chapter? What is this next version? Because I feel like I've been surviving the last couple of months truly and getting through the move, getting through this job transition has been the focus of the first part of this year. And now it's here. And I'm like, okay, we're simplifying, we're making things easy. And yesterday I was like, what is something that I just want to continue to feel good about? And I've been going to the gym the last couple of weeks. I've been journaling, which I've been sharing, on here a few episodes ago. I shared that I'm really trying to kind of just drop back into my body because I've been in the doer mode so much. So I fixed my hair this morning in kind of an old timey way that I haven't fixed in a long time. And I was like, oh, this was fun. And actually, I put it on my agenda for today that I'm going to swing by the beauty supply store and get a couple of things that I want. And I'm going to maybe start fixing my hair this way a little bit more.
Love it.
Thanks.
I I got my hair did yesterday too. I it's kind of well, one, it's not as drastic the difference as yours, and I got my headphone thing on, but it always feels nice when you go and get it done. And love Kelly so much. Shout out to Kelly. She is awesome. But yeah, it looks very cute. And you just saying you're going to go to the beauty supply store. I today realize that, well, one, I leave later today to go to Denver to do a dog sitting gig down there for the next 4 days. And then after that, I leave for a week to go on a trip. And my peel container where I do all my peels and plan them out is a 2 week one, just so I don't have to do it as often. But now I'm like, ooh, a 1 week would be good. So I'm meeting a friend for a walk here when we're done recording, and I'm gonna go hit the Walgreens probably and get me a pill container. That's my exciting store trip today.
I love that. I appreciate that you're getting yourself prepped. It's important. And your hair does look beautiful. Yesterday, as I was totally in my grunge, you called me in the afternoon on FaceTime and your hair was all straight. And I was like, why does that look so good? And then I remembered you got to go to Kelly. So you were slaying it. She did her thing.
Thanks. Yeah. Does that mean that when I straighten it, it doesn't look that good? Is
No,
that what
not
you're
at
saying?
all. I'm saying
Ah,
we
I'm
had
just messing
talked,
with you. I'm just
right?
messing with you.
We had talked yesterday morning. Both of us were in our morning wake up mode.
In bed.
And then in the afternoon when we talked, I looked exactly the same and you looked glowing and radiant and like you had
Uh,
beautiful, nice hair clean and done. So
it is always nice when someone else does it for you.
I would say it's the effort. It's the effort that sometimes just gets me. And I don't know, Mom. I mean, I've been really like, this is 2 years. Okay. We have been going evolving truths for 2 years. We have been making different job changes. Both you and I have changed or added a job in the last year. Like, I'm kind of just at this part again where it's feeling like a bunch of new. It's feeling like a bunch of pivots. It's feeling like I turned the page on life's chapters and seeing this and feeling this in like multiple areas. But really, where I feel like I'm feeling it the most is internally. I'm like, oh, I want to make a shift. I want to make a change. I want to go back to how I felt in my day-to-day life when you and I first started this podcast. And not to say that those episodes are great or glowing by any means, because my energy was a little off the walls. I mean, I love that. That was a season of life. But now it's like, how do I have that energy and show this 2 years of experience, this wisdom, this knowledge that I've gained? Like, how do I make space for myself again? Because I feel like I have just been I've been like going from one task to another, which has been necessary to get me to this point. Now I'm at this point again, and I want to make that switch again.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's a long thing to
Mhm.
really say that today. I think we're going to be talking about pivots again and just like new, fresh chapters and the fact that you get
Well,
to
and I
have
think,
them whenever you want.
yeah, yeah, I think that's true. And I also recognizing when you just said like the energy back, first of all, you said a couple things. One, season 5, and two, 2 years. So let's just take a minute there to go, whoa, because this to me has become like just such a natural part of life now and what I do, kind of like flossing. I'm a person who flosses and I'm a person who podcasts, but recognizing too that the base maybe if I'm hearing you correctly, or what I am taking from what you're saying is you want to get back to feeling sort of that in touchness with yourself, I guess, because you referenced energy, you referenced some of those things, and recognizing like your body in these last 2 years has taken a huge health shift. And so, what a comparable energy level, if you want to put it on that plane, might look like now could be very different than it was then. I think what you're getting at a little bit more, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that grounded place, that where you're coming from space and sort of how you're feeling about things, less than perhaps the energy level that you show towards things.
You just summarized that so well. It's like the foundational essence of what makes up every day. We get to pick that focus. And since my health changed, and honestly, since like August 2022, when I really kind of set my mind on this path and direction of wanting to intentionally help people with personal development and growth, I had to shift the focus to go learn new skills. There were things that I did realize I didn't have the skill set for that I needed to go grow and develop and evolve. And that kind of took me to a different foundational everyday where my mindset was, what I was thinking about, what I was focused on was like the learning, the growing, and the doing. Now, I just want to be.
Yeah.
I just want to get to be in this season of being. And it's obviously been a while, nearly 2 years since I've been in this. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, the career development path that I set out for myself, the personal development skill level that I wanted to grow, and also my health. Right. So there were things that I chose, and then there were things that were just circumstances thrust upon me. Now, being at this point, 18 months later, 19 months later, from when my symptoms took over, only, I mean, technically a month away from when I like relaunched my life coaching services. It's like I went and did all the work. Now I can just sit here and be. Like I can wake up and do my hair. I can wake up and go to the gym, like trying to bring these things back in that, like you said, the energy just wasn't there because they weren't the priority. I had to focus all my energy on the skill development of effective communication. I had to focus on the doing of like, how do we learn how to post this podcast on multiple platforms? And how do I learn how to be a better coach? And all of that development has been necessary. Now it's like, oh, girl, you got it. Like you got the development. You did all of the work. Now just sit back and enjoy. And yes, I just want to circle back to what you're saying. And I even journaled this the other night where it was like, it's not about being high energy now. It's about, which is frequency, right? Like when we first started this podcast, I was so high on life. I had just broken out of 29 years of feeling like I couldn't live my own life, or not even really realizing that the decisions I made could be my own decisions and that I didn't need someone's permission to give me direction or to tell me how to live my life. Like I just had this massive expansion, which meant that my energy was off the charts frequency, like super high level. Literally had people ask me like, "Are you on drugs?" Like, no, I'm just high on life. Now, fast forward 2 years, what I'm really after is that level up of energy, but I think it's more of the essence. I think it's more of it's like that wisdom, that knowledge, but I'm not aiming for a high frequency.
What high looks like now might be different as well, right? It's an evolution. It's, as you say, another turn on the corkscrew. Also, as you saying that you don't want to do, you want to be. When I used to facilitate trainings for all of the new staff and volunteers at the local domestic violence shelter, at the end, we would talk about self care. I mean, now hindsight, I should have really wrapped that in a lot more throughout the whole training, but at the end, it was a big focus of the final day or evening of training. And I would always say that we're human beings, not human doings. And recognizing, which we've talked about this a lot here, where are those times, even when things are crazy, that you can take those minutes to rest, that you can find those ways to ground yourself? What can you do? I think you might enjoy, we actually started the book together because at the organization where I work, we did a book club, and the book that we read was Rest is Resistance, a
Mm.
manifesto. And do you remember? I think I was in Arizona with you and we started reading it out loud. And I was reading it out loud to you. And you were like, "Ooh, that's good. That's good." But it sounds to me like right now might be a good time for you to pick that book up.
Yeah, that actually does sound good. And we did start it. For some reason, I thought it was on audio, but maybe it was just you on audio.
That's funny. It was me on audio, and I did have it in both places. And the author does narrate it, which I always enjoy when they do that. But yeah, it's Rest is Resistance, a manifesto by Tricia Hersey. I hope I said that correct. And she is the founder of the NAP ministry. So check that out. I say I didn't get to, I guess. No, I really didn't. I did not have the capacity to read that book in the space with the book club, but I was able to join, like I read some portions of it and was able to join the book club meetings when they talked about it. And it was great to hear staff visit about it and talk about how it impacted their lives in areas where they were trying to bring some of her suggestions in. So I still have the book sitting next to me. I don't know. Maybe we toss that out, Lex, and offer it in our ACM group and see maybe if they'd be interested in doing something like that.
Yeah, doing like a little book club, that could be
Yeah.
great. I love that you just bring up rest because that's what yesterday was like. Just it's such an intentional pause, power in the pause. We've talked about this episode over episode. Here's where my processing is basically. Up until moving to Arizona, I had the doer mentality because it was like high achiever. My worth was tied to that. I felt not good about myself if I didn't do something, if I didn't feel like I was moving forward. Also, I just have like this grand vision for my life. And I know that in order to have that grand vision, like I'm going to have to organize some things. I want to have an impact in the world. And I've known that for a long time. I've known that for the majority of my life. In order to do that, I know that I need to work hard. But I was working hard at the wrong things. Then I had that expansion that I was just talking about, moved to Arizona. It was like this unleashing and unharnessing of this creative power. And I actually already feel like I know that that's going to come up more in our next season, because as I'm opening this up again, like I started listening to feminine energy and different podcasts about feminine and masculine energy. And it's not about it. Anyways, okay, stay on track, Lex. So had this expansion. Then, as I described, I went back into doer mode, but I went into doer mode with intentionality. I knew the skills that I wanted to learn. I knew the principles of life. I knew the vision that I was trying to create. It was important to me to be able to have a remote job that paid me high value for the amount of time that I could put in, and that I could control my calendar. I can open my calendar when I want, so I can go to my appointments, I can travel, I can do whatever I want. That was the vehicle. Now I have the vehicle. Now I'm doing the vehicle. Now it's just settling into the vehicle and letting myself be great at it, which has been something that I set the intention the last couple of weeks of, like, I'm really going deep on this mastery with simplifying and just focusing on a few things. So where I'm going with this is, it's like, okay, I spent my whole life in doer mode because it was self-worth and productivity and high achieverness and perfectionism. Then it was
Pause. I love that you just said high achieverness. Great word.
high achieving is a freaking verb, okay? It is a verb. I
I'm
don't
with you.
care.
It was just high achieverness. Listen, I make up words all the time. So I fully support you in this. I have Shannon language. You have Lexus language. So anyway,
I appreciate it.
apologies for the interruption, but back to the high achieverness.
Totally. Okay. And I'm going to try and wrap this up because I realize I'm rambling here quite a bit, but I hope that it's coming through. So, spent my life in that mode, came out of that mode, had this expansion, discovered creative energy. I didn't realize that I was honestly just unleashing my feminine and tapping into it for like the first time in my life. It was like when you get a superpower and you don't realize what to do with it. And what I actually journaled the other day was, it was like a lawn hose having the water turned on to full power, and no one is there to like direct this energy, which is literally like what my experience was in 2022. Like, it was massive, it was amazing, it was beautiful, I absolutely loved it. I had no idea what I was absolutely doing with it. Now I've been through another season where I intentionally chose that doer energy so that I could go do, and now it's coming back to the being. And I do feel like I've recognized this for like a couple of months, but I still had to keep doing. I still had to get past the move. I still had to keep working in the capacity that I was working the last couple of months. And now, because I've made it past those things, it's like, oh my gosh, I can have this space. Yesterday, I spent so much time thinking about the business model of my life coaching practice and where I've been focusing marketing and lead building attention. And I feel like I'm totally just ready to like let that strategy go and try something new. Same with kind of how I've been feeling about myself as far as wanting to go to the gym. Like, I started going to the gym again in November and December last year. I was doing my rehab exercises, started the new job. It felt like it was way too much. I was scared to send myself into a migraine spell by pushing too hard and by having too many things. And now it's like, okay, great. I'm not traveling back and forth between my partner's house and my house anymore, which basically gives me, an extra 6 hours a week kind of thing. So what am I going to do at that time? I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to continue to take care of myself and build that threshold up. What I'm really trying to say is, like, space is coming back, but I'm doing my best to intentionally create that space. I'm taking the pauses that I haven't been able to take for a while because I really was treading water and swimming from buoy to buoy to get myself moving forward the way that I wanted to. And it is so powerful, I think, when we realize that these life chapters can be written by us with intentionality.
like that. Life chapters can be written by us with intentionality. I actually have in my bathroom a very simple, you've seen it, I made it. It's a little just white, and then on it is a little rock pile, picture of a rock pile, and a little saying that says, live intentionally. And I think sometimes that's an easy thing to take for granted, being able to do.
Absolutely. The intentionality comes down to the little choices we make every single day.
Mhm.
And I actually was just in a 3-day conference, a workshop. They're creating business plans. These are 7-figure business owners that are trying to break through and go to 8 and 9 figures. And we had a keynote speaker that came out and talked about decision making and being able to confidently make decisions. And the point that he made is that we get to make 35,000 decisions a day as an adult on average. Now, many of those become unconscious. We're not thinking about all 35K of those decisions in the moment. They're happening. But when we switch on that awareness, which you and I have talked about with flossing, we've talked about with consciously noticing our emotions so that we can choose something different, like that is the essence of starting to be able to design your life to intentionally choose how you live. It comes down to those little choices. It comes down to noticing, oh, I am habitually turning on Netflix instead of choosing to pick up a book right now, or I'm
Mhm.
habitually choosing to call this person even though every time I talk to them, like, I don't hang up feeling good and it's a total energy suck.
I'm sitting here trying to think of things that I'm choosing that probably aren't that great, but I don't know that I want to name them right now. So I'm choosing to not name some of those things that I may be intentionally doing, even though I know they're not great for me, because I think that's just sort of the space I'm in right now. And so, with this space, it goes back to recognizing where we're at. This is a constant theme we have in Evolving Truths about the importance of recognizing where we're at and acknowledging what our needs are in that space. If we want that space to look different, then the intentionality starts to come around a lot of what you just said in terms of really thinking about how a decision that we've made is making us feel. That's my, well, it could be the decision, but also it's like the consequences of that decision. And do we want to experience something different? Right. And acknowledging at times that, yeah, maybe I do, but you know what? Right now, I don't have the capacity to maybe make a different decision. Like right now, I need to just sort of keep doing these things. I'm gonna say I feel like you and I have kind of switched places a little bit right now, Lex, where you everything you were just describing of that's where you've been. And I've been sitting here holding space for you as your mom, kind of going through that process. And I feel like just with what's happening in my life right now and my schedule and like a lot of life things that have happened, that now is kind of where I am of just doing what I need to do to get through some things and knowing that I'm going to get to that point where I'm going to be able to go back to some of these things. And yet, how do I make sure I don't completely lose them or derail myself or get myself so far out that in some of these things that I know really do feel my life, that it becomes more difficult putting them back in more of a task than being able to look at it as something that's rewarding or that I know helps me feel good. I don't know if any of that made sense.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. Because you're in the season of doing as well. And
Yeah.
I think the balance that you're talking about is the balance that I haven't been able to personally achieve. Like you and dad, honestly, and now Rob and a few other family members. Like, as I have been in this season of doing for the last, I mean, 18 months, basically, since I set out to regain my life from freaking chronic migraine symptoms that left me totally debilitated. And it's turned into, finding this new job and all these different things. You guys kept me going because I did not have the space and capacity to do those, like fix my hair or to, draw my eyebrows on or to even just think positively. Like truly
Mhm.
the reminder that you guys have continued to give me of like, hey, this is just a season. It's not forever. You are doing it. You're taking the actions. Be proud of yourself. Continue to love yourself. Remember to rest. All of those things. You are in the season of doing. But I love what you said about not losing track of some of these things that you know do serve you and figuring out how to keep even some semblance of that in your season of doing, I would say is something that I wish I was a little bit better at over these last 18 months. However, I had it built in for me because I had to keep going to treatments.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about like working out, and just with the workload that I currently have right now and the things that are coming up. And also my perimenopausal brain and its lack of ability to focus at times is astounding to me, where I feel like I'm doing all these things and then I look and I'm like, no, I still have so much to do because I was doing all this other stuff because I couldn't focus. And so recognizing like my workouts don't have to look like what I'm used to them looking like or be as many times in the week, but let's not lose them completely. So instead of I'm going to, go to the gym for an hour and get 3 sets of these 6 exercises, get myself there and do 1 set each. If that's what I've got the time for, I keep that in the space, then be okay with that. Or I do it here at home and make some adjustments. And maybe it's not exactly like I'd like it to be at the gym or with the weights, but it's still movement. It's still going through those motions. It's still keeping in my space. And that's something I've been thinking about a little bit lately. So I don't know. I feel like this is not something that just you and I think about or have struggled with. And would love to hear any ideas from the fam bam about what they've done when they're in these periods of life and need to figure out how to keep some things that are important to them to not completely lose them. What does that look like for you? Tell us about it.
Yeah, tell us about it. Also, if you feel like you've gone through different seasons where you've been more doing and more being, like what have those transitions looked like? Was it intentional or did it feel like it just happened to you? And, what would you replicate about that? Or how would you make it more intentional if you were to think about it again? Because I do, I do think that this is a greater pattern of life to go through these seasons of doing and being. Like these are, but they're bigger chapters, right? I talk about life in chapters and seasons and all these things, but I think this pattern of fluctuating between doing and being maybe is a pattern that we don't have to keep. It's just the pattern that we're used to right now. And I don't know, just let us know. I would love to know if this is an experience that you've had too, because that's why we talk about these things on Evolving Truths.
That's because that is why we are here.
That's literally the foundation of this podcast.
We have recognized we are not the only ones thinking about these thoughts. So, yeah, tell us lately what's been your experience as a human being versus a human doing.
Absolutely. If mom and I are totally your cup of tea, please leave a 5-star rating of the show on whatever platform you are listening. Leave a comment, share this episode with someone you would like to have a conversation with, and we will be back. Oh, we won't be back next week because we're going to take a little summer break. It is the end of season 5. Oh my gosh, it's the end of season 5.
Wow, that's crazy. Yay, go us.
Woohoo! I love it. And I mean, it's not a promise at the moment because it's just the beginning of June, but I am hoping, and I'm just going to put this out there because
Nope, I'm not going to let you.
no, I am putting it out there because we live with intentionality. We literally just did an entire episode on this, and what we speak, we create. So it is my hope that the next season, season 6, it is my hope that the next season is going to drop the week of July 22nd because that is legitimately our 2-year anniversary. So I think it would be pretty sweet if in our second year we dropped season 6 on the anniversary. I'm just going to speak it out there, Mom. I am going to speak it out there.
Hashtag Evolving Truths podcast goal.
I love it. But we'll keep you posted. Obviously, we are going to be back in a couple of weeks as we just take this little summer hiatus and get refocused and plan in our next amazing season. So make sure you mark your calendars, keep things here.
We'll be back in a hot minute. Until then,
Please remember, life is beautiful and you create the magic. Have a good one.
Connect with Shannon and Alexus in the Evolving Truths community by visiting evolvingtruthspodcast.com. Links are in the show notes. The Evolving Truths podcast is produced by Shannon Day and Alexus Rae, recorded from the Corner Studio in conjunction with Alexus Rae Enterprises, LLC.